First of all, we are saddened and outraged by the death of another political prisoner in a Belarusian prison, and we of course want to express our condolences to all the family and friends of Mr. Ihar Lednik. And this is outrageous death, of course, and it only reflects the disregard to human life by Lukashenko regime, because again, this is not the first political prisoner that died in prison, most likely due to the lack of proper medical attention. And it's symptomatic because the people in Belarus, they are being oppressed, and one of the signs of this repression is that people are being put behind bars as political prisoners, and then they are ill-treated, sometimes even tortured, and they are not provided a proper medical care. And we know many cases where the health situation of people who were detained and sentenced to prison terms has deteriorated dramatically, and they were not provided appropriate care. So again, this just underlines the level of inhuman repression in Belarus by Lukashenko regime, and this is something we condemned very much. We call for release of all political prisoners, and we recall once again that those responsible will be held to account. On Monday, the foreign ministers of EU member states adopted conclusions on Belarus, and in these conclusions, which are some kind of political document of the EU, the new updated political document of the EU, the member states were saying very clearly that we adopted a number of sanctions against the regime of Lukashenko and its supporters for all the human rights violations. And we stand ready to continue doing so as long as the authorities continue in their mistreatment of people and violating their rights. So, of course, the European Union is analyzing and reviewing the situation, and we cannot exclude that there will be another rounds of the sanctions for the wide scale of repression and human rights violation, as underlined also by the unfortunate and outrageous death of Ihar Lednik. We are calling the Belarusian authorities to release the prisoners immediately and unconditionally. We are repeating this call regularly on every occasion when people are being sentenced, ill-treated, or unfortunately if they die in prison. This should be a wake-up call for the authorities that their inhuman behavior is reaching a scale that is absolutely not acceptable. So we will be calling in public, we will be issuing statements, of course. We are calling out Belarus in international fora. In every international fora, we are showing to the international partners the true nature of this regime. So we are trying to mobilize international pressure so that the regime starts to change its behavior, and of course we are sanctioning the regime and its supporters. So this is the instruments we have in our hand. We cannot do interventions, of course. We cannot go into the country and release these people physically, of course. I mean, that's not possible, but we do everything in our power to make sure that that these cases are being talked about and there is pressure on the regime to release them.